What is going on, explorers? We are back. We are here at the Chiefs, and today we have another special episode for you guys. But before we get into it, let me go ahead and play that intro music.
Perhaps your skills do extend a bit farther than basketball.
As I was saying, we are back with another special episode today. We have a special guest in the building. Who do we got here?
Yo, Tyrex in the building. TY, don't forget the dash, REX.
There we go. And so we're going to just be having another great conversation. We were talking about Sony cameras before we went live.
Yeah, I don't really know much about Sony cameras, but like I said, I wanted to shoot my own music videos. So it's like I went on Google and I was just Googling the type of cameras within my price range that I could get. And I ended up using a Sony. I think it might be the same exact camera, to be honest. But I feel like the lens actually...
talk right into the top of them. Yeah, but keep going, the lens.
The lens actually does a lot of the work. Like
the lens is that's what... The final picture that you get is mostly the lens, right?
Yeah,
the body of the camera is just like the brains, the computer.
Yeah, I just found that part out after I bought the camera. And then I'm just like, shit. And I ended up buying like some Sigma
You got to with the adapter, I'm assuming. You have to get the adapter with the lens.
I don't remember.
Have you attached the Sigma lens to it yet?
Yeah, I have it just attaches like.
Okay.
It on. It
Nice.
worked
Yeah.
Like it's pretty huge though.
There's another creator that's sometimes here, and he also shoots like Sony cameras as well, but he's got like the Sony A's S3 or something like this is like the next tier up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was asking him like, what Sony lens would you recommend? Because this is just like, speaking of like taking things into your own hands, like you want to do your music videos, but like I just bought this. I'm like, let me take my own podcasting or whatever it needs into my own hands. And I could have got another lens, but even then, like I'm just making it work with the kit lens. So this just came with the camera, and
I think that, bro, sometimes just getting off the ground with whatever you have and getting on camera. Like I was watching last night, I was on YouTube. Like I'd be on YouTube for hours sometimes.
Oh yeah, YouTube is the best.
Yeah, I was watching this this YouTube creator named. I forgot his name. He talks about drinking water and staying hydrated all the time.
Okay.
And like he was doing this, he was describing the YouTuber Sneeko.
Oh,
and like they were just talking about, like, I just noticed how like people gravitate to, instead of big high budget studios, people are gravitating to like at home setups with like just your headphones in your computer chair in your room. There's the authenticity. And I feel like lots of people are just like gravitating to that format, and that it seems like, hey, get a camera and just like let it out, like just be authentic in yourself, and that's been gravitating to people.
And that's another reason, like, you can, like specifically with podcasts and stuff, you can have a podcast like super overproduced and like long intros and graphics and all these things. Like on my platform, it's super bare bones. Like I would even go to like other artists' place and just like set up there and mic in hand. Like I don't even have a mic stand. Like, well, I do. I don't bring them, but it's like just doing it raw, authentic. We got this going on, but this is here.
That's the word though, authentic. I feel like once you lose the authenticity of everything, that's when things starts going downhill. Yeah. Because like at the end of the day, everybody wants something that feels like relatable, something that feels like podcast for me feels like conversations with the homie. Because I'm a big podcast listener. Yeah. So it's just, I like it to be like I'm chilling with the homies, and like sometimes I'd be wanting to interject and I can't, but like that's the feeling that I want from it,
Mm-hmm. And one of the things, do you know who Joey Diaz is? Have you heard of him before?
I've heard his name, yeah.
So he described podcasts, and I think it's like one of the best descriptions coming at it as a listener, right? He's like, a podcast should be a wiretap. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
So it's like, you're listening to other people have a conversation, but it's like you're the wiretap. You're the one that tapped in and just listening to whatever.
Yo, that's like, I was listening to, like, I listened to Andrew Schultz and Charlemagne and everything that. And they're talking about how they get in trouble just by like talking, like in podcast conversation, because they be forgetting that this is just regular conversation that they'd be having, like if it was behind closed doors, and then all of a sudden it's in a camera, it's on camera in front of a wide audience, and it's like, oh shit, like I didn't realize what I was saying could offend this person or that it would get so much backlash because like of that feeling. But I guess it comes with the territory when you're a podcaster, right?
It does, and I think one of the things is people enjoy that because going back to being authentic, if that's what you would say behind closed doors.
Yeah,
you know, that's what people like.
And that's what people like. For me, it's like I used to love stand-up comedy, and I feel like it's hard for me to like stand-up comedy like I used to.
Okay.
Because like nowadays there's so much like feelings matter so much more. Like there's so much things that would not be able to fly nowadays. Like you think we can make white chicks in 2022?
Well, that's a movie. I think that's different.
Do you think we can make Rush Hour in 2022?
Yeah, I think they could make a Rush Hour. It won't be as good.
Okay, well then it doesn't really matter if it's not going to be as good. That's what we're talking about.
They can still make it.
They can make it, but if we're not going to be able to laugh at the same type of humor,
you know what they can't make anymore?
What?
Tropic Thunder.
I feel like the thing is that it depends on who you're getting mad at. I don't know. Like, you think that black people will get that mad?
It's not. I wasn't even thinking about. I'm not mad about that. I think that's hilarious.
I think it's hilarious too.
But I was thinking like, because they had the character that's a little bit developmentally challenged and stuff like that, and there's like that whole stuff.
See, look, I don't subscribe to cancel culture or all that sensitive shit. Like I do subscribe halfway to like, we don't want to just be straight off like homophobic, racist, sexist, and just like to a point where just like you're not even funny, you're not entertaining, you're not providing anything else besides offense, and that's all you're going for is low-hanging fruit. I don't want a culture like that. But at the same time, I still want it to be able to be like, yo, I feel like White Chicks was a hilarious movie.
Yes.
I feel like, even though like it could never be done the other way around. But the way
I think here's
you can never make a movie called Black Chicks.
I think you can.
Explain. Tell me
I
how it will
think
go.
you can, and I think because going back to your point about stand-up comedy, right? For me, I love this time of stand-up comedy. This is why I started doing stand-up. Like I went up on stage a few times now. Check out the video. It's in my Patreon. Patreon.com/
I'm going to actually check that out. I want to check that out.
I went up on stage, and one of the things I like about this time is that it's dangerous, right? So now it's like...
It's real edgy.
It's real edgy. Like it's almost like... I don't know if you ever watched like gymnastics or something like that, but like when you see someone, they're literally on a beam and they're doing like tumbling, flips, tricks,
Are they gonna land it?
and then they gotta stick the landing at the end. You know what I mean? Like that's what comedy is like today. Like who could say not say the craziest stuff, but it's like who can get the most laughs, or who can teeter that balance beam and not fall off. And
I guess it's more challenging.
It's more
so I guess it makes the art, it makes it, when you're thinking about it from the artistic perspective, it makes it a lot, it challenges you more, so it makes you create greater art. But at the same time, from a consumer perspective, sometimes it's just like, I feel like you have to search harder for what you want. Because I have watched a couple comics where it's just like, I felt like everything, if it's too safe, like I feel like Kevin Hart right now, amazing comic, but I feel like he's not hitting right now. Because I feel like his safeness is just like, for Kevin Hart, he plays the same character in every movie. Respectfully, because I love Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart's one of the GOATs, but I agree, he plays the same character. And
so just like people are just kind of getting bored of the same type of thing, and I feel like right now, I feel like Andrew Schultz is like a perfect example of somebody who knows how to be completely like honest and flagrant. And like, that's the type of thing that I'm into, because I'm used to, the type of comedy I like is just like raw, honest, the type of thing that like, I can't believe he said that.
Do you know who Corey Holcomb is? Have you heard of him?
Yeah, I know Corey Holcomb.
He's like one of my favorites, because he's one of those guys where he'll say something and he'll be like, ooh, I can't believe he went there, but he did.
That's my favorite thing. Like, that's my favorite thing. And I feel like people are making a lot of things too literal, and a lot of things 100%. Like, you have to remember it's a joke. Like some things in comics some things in comedy are just jokes. So
all things in comedy are jokes.
Comedy.
It's comedy. Like that's the first thing. It's comedy, and so it's not that deep and it's not that serious, right?
For real.
I think like one of the ways that I really think about comedy is like, the reason you laugh at something that's funny is because you know that it's a joke, and because you know it's a joke, even if they go the wrong way with it, what you find funny is that you know that that's the opposite way to go.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? Like,
I'm gonna play devil's advocate
Go
here.
for it.
Okay, so Will Smith, Chris Rock.
okay.
Sometimes there's consequences for your jokes.
Yeah, but that, first of all, you're right. But that's not even a real, because
That was a consequence.
that was a.
If you
but-
get slapped, that's a
okay,
physical consequence.
in that moment. But I hear Chris Rock's killing it nowadays.
Would you still want to get slapped if you feel like that you're going to get riches afterward? Is that the trade you want to make? I just feel like
No, but he didn't do that intentionally, right?
my whole thing is
And
that
he didn't even write that joke either.
I know I heard that. I think Will Smith was completely wrong for the record for that
Yeah.
for that whole thing. But what I'm going to say is I'm not going to act like I haven't seen multiple fights over jokes. I haven't seen multiple altercations over jokes for
Yes.
people who can't take jokes and for people who may be giving the jokes the wrong place, wrong time. Because you can say it's a joke and I can know it's a joke, but if you're talking about my mother who passed away yesterday,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, it doesn't matter what you say or it doesn't
100%.
matter.
And that's part of the balance beam. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, you gotta toe that line. If
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Or like, you have to be able to risk being offensive in order to risk being funny. You know what I mean? Because
But
I'm
there's
not saying you're being funny at someone else's expense, but you don't know what people can be offended by anything. And
That-
you can't like hide in your house. At least the way I look at it, I can't like hide in my house and be like, oh, well, I can't be funny because somebody might take offense to it. Like, I'm not gonna dim my light. I'm not gonna,
But
hold
don't you
back.
think that there's certain lines to it? For example, there was this Asian comic, I forgot her name. She did that joke right after XXX Tentacion died, and
No, what was it?
She made a joke about his death. I didn't think it was funny,
Yeah.
but neither
she
did
went-
lots of other people.
Yeah.
They think it was funny, and she was
Yeah.
getting death threats. She was getting
but
harassed,
this is-
and like she
I
would have
don't
to put out
agree
an
with people.
apology.
I think comedians should be like a protected class. You know what I mean?
I don't think anybody should be a protected class.
Exactly. So if these people have the right to not be offended, then I have the right to not care if they're offended or not. Because like people are going to be offended regardless, right?
If you're talking about death and somebody who's like,
But death can be funny.
over time, maybe, depending on who. But
this is my point.
Also, it's a sensitive subject. Like, this is a very touchy subject. I like
love
this.
touchy
I like this one. Okay, so okay, this is when we're talking about we're not free of the consequences. You could be funny all you want,
Yes.
but somebody else could then choose to act upon their feelings towards you thinking that you're funny, and they might want to do something physical towards you
I
or
agree.
whatnot, and they
Yes.
might have to suffer the consequences on if you want to call the cops or if you want to do something physical back.
Yep.
There's always consequences that everybody's willing to take
Yeah.
risks on.
Yeah.
But don't you think that certain jokes may be a little out of bounds, be low hanging fruit, like we were talking about earlier, where it's just like, why, like there's other ways that you could find that you could make it a little bit more digestible where it's not so offensive.
I agree. There are ways, but you have to find those ways. You have to you have to start with something, right? Like that XXX Tentacion joke, right? Keep in mind, as a comedian, in your mind, you think this is funny, right? You're not saying the joke to hurt somebody. If you're a stand-up comedian, in your mind, you think it's funny, right? And even if it might be the first time you tell that joke, because keep in mind, with stand-up comedians, when you write a joke versus when you maybe perform it in a stadium, right? There might be like 50 iterations of that joke, right? And you have to, once again, you have to risk being offensive to, hammer that joke into a spot where it's funny and people also don't get offended. But you have to be given the space. You know what I mean? Comedy is like an extreme sport. I don't know if you I mentioned the gymnastics thing. Like those people, they risk breaking their necks doing a backflip. No one ever thinks about that, but people break their necks all the time doing backflips on beams or whatever it may be.
That's
they're
only
taking
you,
that
though.
risk.
But that's a risk that involves only you. We're not talking about something that has somebody else's feelings involved who may not have been even asking to have signed up for something. I think that is different. Okay, if you're performing and you don't expect these people to be in the audience or something like that.
Yeah.
But suppose like you're recording something to put on YouTube or put out to the public or something like that. Just when you know that this is coming into contact, for example, I'm using the death thing because that's always a line that people are going to be sensitive about.
Yes.
I feel like comedy should not be a protected group, and that there should be, if we're going to have lines in society in general, I feel like comedy does have to have certain lines. I feel like they may be able to tiptoe the line, and that what really defines the comic. But we have to acknowledge that a comedian can cross the line, and we can't just be like, oh, he's just telling a joke, so it's all right, because not all jokes are all right, and not everybody is asking to take a joke.
Not all jokes are all right. I agree with this, right? Not all jokes are all right, but not all jokes are coming from a malicious place.
Doesn't mean it didn't hurt anybody, though.
Yeah, but that's their fault. They're hurt, bro.
That's not their fault.
Yes, it is their fault. It is their fault. Yeah. Like, look, if I call you nigga, you're not gonna be hurt by that because I'm black. But if someone else says nigga, you can decide to let that bother you or not. That's your choice.
But whether it hurt me or not, I'm thinking about the intention. I feel like if this person is trying to hurt me, it may not have hurt me, but now I will probably try to hurt them because they tried to hurt me. The intent is what bothers me.
Yeah, but
if somebody didn't know that, if someone was from Japan and didn't know the word nigga was bad,
I think they actually have a word where they say
okay, but if they were like they didn't know the translation, they said like there's it's in Rush Hour, the Rush Hour one, Jackie Chan, he says what nigga, like you didn't get it, you know what I mean? That's something that I would let slide. I wouldn't really care. I'm not even one to really police the word like that. I don't care. But like if somebody is maliciously saying the N-word to me, you can't just be like, oh, you can't just be like, oh, it's your fault if you choose to let that hurt you. It's like, yeah, it is my fault. But if somebody's intentionally trying to offend me and I choose to react, like we're all human here. Like we're not gonna act like we're all impervious to reactions and all this type of stuff. So all I'm saying is when we circle it back to comedic thing is that yes, comedians can toe the line as much as they can, but we just have to acknowledge that if a line is crossed, that it's possible that a comedian can cross the line, and we can't use the cop out. They're a comedian. Sometimes the comedian has to like live by the rules of everybody else.
The only reason I say I agree with what you're saying because people can be upset, and you do have to be conscious of that, right? Like I can say something and people can get upset, right? But also I might think something is so funny, I'm willing to risk that.
Yeah, and you have to pay the consequences of the risk. Because if I go in the hood and I go up to a nigga who looks like obviously he's with the shits, he probably has a gun on his waist or some shit, and I decide to be like, ha ha ha. It looks like lots of niggas in the hood are not good at taking jokes. Actually, the most violent niggas are the funniest niggas who do not like jokes being told on them. So it's just like, yo, fam, if I go to the hood and I tell a nigga a joke to one of those niggas and they decide to shoot me because of because I think that I'm funny and shit like that, is it really worth it? Because you have to take in there's consequences for everything.
Yeah, but that's you. This is in the example you give, right? That's you going to the hood and telling a joke, right? What if they come to you in a comedy club?
That's why I said Will Smith's wrong, because of time and place. But if I'm walking across the street and someone hits me with a "your mom" joke, we're probably fighting, bro. Like you don't know you don't know. That's what I'm saying. But time and place. That's exactly what I'm saying.
But yeah, so in a comedy club, right? If you're a comedian and you're telling these jokes in a comedy club, like I said,
100% right.
You're not trying to be malicious. Like you seen the movie Joker? Have you seen that movie?
Like with the Batman guy?
Yeah, Joaquin Phoenix, like the most recent Joker. Where
I'm not gonna lie, I fell asleep in theater.
Okay, well, basically in that movie, right? He's telling these jokes, right? And in his mind, he thinks it's like the funniest thing, but nobody's laughing. You know what I mean?
I feel like this is proving my point.
No, but to that point, it's like in your mind, you think it's funny. You don't think it's malicious, right? Especially in the context of a comedy club where comedians are usually telling their jokes, right? I think that should be like, not a safe space, but it's like, yo, okay, everyone relax. We're here to have a good time. I might say something.
I don't feel you could think like that, but I'm not really like here to tell you what's right or wrong, because you are 100% right about what should happen. True. But if we're talking about the reality of the world, I'm just telling you how to navigate through the world.
That is true.
And if you want to act in the world like there's no consequences to the things you say,
I'm not doubting there's consequences.
So like, in the art of a comedy, is like, for me, I think it kind of matters about how funny it is, because a show like Boondocks or like South Park is funny as hell, but it's so offensive in so many ways to everybody. But I feel like if you're funny enough, I might let that slide. I'll let a lot of things slide if you're funny enough.
But you don't know how funny it is till you you tell the joke, and that's the issue.
Hey.
Right? You don't know how funny it really is until you tell the joke.
Big risks, big rewards, big consequences. You know what I'm saying?
That's what it is. But that's why I think.
But that's why I'm saying that comedians shouldn't be exempt, because nobody's exempt from consequences. I don't feel like they're exempt, but they should be. If they're towing the line, they're still the line.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah. Maybe exempt isn't the right word, because you're right. No one should really be exempt from, consequences. But I think maybe not exempt, but I think the people that do get offended should also realize, like, it's not malicious. That's what it is. Because, like I said, they're the ones getting cheesed, and it's like I said, it's in their mind that they're cheesed.
Here's a great segue.
Okay.
Now, rest in peace to Takeoff.
Ooh, okay, we're going there.
Right?
RP Takeoff.
Rest in peace to Takeoff. I was a big fan. I love the Migos.
Mm-hmm.
But so should Quavo and people on their team be mad at the killer? Because allegedly, the person who may have shot him may have been on their team.
Yeah. And
they were aiming for someone else trying to protect Quavo.
Yeah.
And they accidentally hit Takeoff.
Okay.
So hey, in the terms of where I'm correlating it is in comedy, there was no malicious intent with him shooting. His intent was actually to save, but in proxy, by accident, he actually hurt somebody.
Yes.
Fatally.
Yep.
So if your joke can hurt somebody, even though the intent may have not been to make them laugh, to do the opposite.
Yes.
But somebody's hurt in the crossfire. Can you say that that's their fault, or do you have some sort of responsibility to own up to in that situation?
You can always own up to it. Yeah. Like if you can, like if you're willing to risk it and you mess up the joke, you flub it, it doesn't land, no one's laughing, and then like say for instance someone tried to make like, because comedy's still gonna be going on. So like say that there's a show tonight and somebody at some comedy club is like, I'm gonna try my new Takeoff material, and it doesn't land. You know what I mean? Like, they can still be like, oh, I tried, my bad, it didn't land, I apologize, and stuff like that. Like, I think that's a respectable thing to do, especially if you're towing that line, you know what I mean? And just with regards to that Takeoff situation, right, I don't think, like, maybe Quavo might be mad at his own boy, but the way I see it is like, what even led up to that situation? Because I'm not really deep on social media and stuff like that, so I only hear a lot of this stuff like secondhand or whatever. But like I heard that one of the things was that Quavo was already getting heated. You know what I mean? Like they might have been like gambling or something like that. He was getting heated, and then that's when it popped off after he had already started to get heated. Right.
Well, you're not allowed to get heated, or she just always worry about your life being taken, or somebody close to your life.
No. But like he was getting heated, right? And when you get heated, people around you get heated, right? And what I also heard is that Takeoff wasn't even part of that. He was like a bystander. You know what I mean? Like he was just sitting there quietly.
All right.
Quavo's out here getting heated. Stuff starts to pop off, right? His own man starts, ringing shots. Would that have happened if he had kept a level head? We don't know. I don't know. I'm not blaming Quavo, but
from what I've heard though, is that Quavo wasn't the one inciting like the argument. Somebody was trying to start with him, and apparently he was trying to de-escalate the situation.
Okay.
And
see, I don't know.
Apparently
so
somebody like things are still getting brought out like by day, hour by hour. Apparently someone swung on him or something like that, and then they probably tried to shoot the person who swung on Quavo.
Wow.
But back to the way that it relates back to the joke. So in the court of law, if that was to happen, that person who shot, even though it was in Houston, Texas, you're allowed to have a gun. You're allowed to. That's the place we're probably allowed to shoot the most.
Yeah.
So if he was to get convicted, he'd probably at least get a manslaughter charge. Whereas like he accidentally killed somebody, it was a manslaughter charge. You're at least going down to like what? At least a 5. You're gonna hug a 5 at minimum.
I agree with that. If you do the crime, you also have to. If there are consequences.
Even if the intention was pure. So in a joke, if you hurt somebody's feelings,
if someone came up and slapped me, like. That's on them, bro. Like, I'm telling you, that's on them.
It's also on, well, their hand is on you, so it's on both of y'all.
I agree. But not everybody in that room slapped me. So it's not like...
That would be, I hope there's not a lot of people in that room.
I know. It's just the one fan in the room that slapped me. But that's my point. I can tell a joke, 3 people might laugh, 20 people might laugh, and then that one dude that's cheesed comes up and... That whole room was laughing at the Chris Rock joke.
Yeah, 100%.
And then only Will Smith came up.
I don't like the Will Smith example because I already said that Will Smith is wrong.
I know, but that's my point. Like, it's something else. That's...
You know when I think that Will Smith would have been more understandable is if he said, if Chris Rock said the joke and then Will Smith was just like, if he stood up and he said, keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth. Yeah. If he said that and then he kept going? Then he kept going and then he slapped him, it would have been like, that's like he's standing up for his wife. But the fact that he waited and they slapped him first and we didn't know what he was gonna do, he's probably like, my good old friend Will. He's coming on stage to do something like Kanye West and Taylor Swift, maybe, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then he got like the slap of the way he winded up for that slap is like, you could tell that like, you ever watch he played Muhammad Ali. He took those lessons in boxing and that he followed through. Like I was like, damn.
I know he did follow through. But
he was wrong though. He was wrong.
He was wrong.
He was dead wrong.
I think wrong. Even though it wasn't the joke, it was an alopecia joke, right? And it is at the expense of Jada Pinkett, but. To be slapped over it? No. To be whatever?
Bald jokes? Okay, we have to put a line on this. We have to just have a list of like what is offensive. Because, okay.
But everyone can find anything offensive.
So we can't make fun of fat people. We can't make fun of bald people. We can't make fun of black people.
You can make fun of black people.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. In all these, there's certain groups that is more protected than others. That if you made fun of a bald male, no one would care.
Yeah.
Tory Lanez gets the works daily.
He does every day.
You call Lizzo fat, you're getting a whole fucking. Can I
tell you something?
But if you call academics fat, his whole comment section is calling them fat.
Yeah, that is true.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like there's certain protected groups where it's like you can't make these certain jokes without the risk of certain consequences.
But if you make that joke on that specific class and the joke lands, bruh. That's like landing a triple back.
You won.
That's what's
100%.
so sick.
But you have to understand the risk. You have to understand the risk. You have to. So if you're gonna take the risk, you can't get mad at the consequences when it doesn't work out your way.
Bro. That's why I wouldn't be mad.
There's certain for me. I wouldn't go like if I was to even like make a diss track to somebody or whatever. It's like I'm not smoking on your dead ops. Like I'm not talking about your dead relatives. Like,
for sure.
And then for me, that's the same as like making certain jokes that you feel like will offend a wide amount of people if it's just like tasteless or if it's just like if it's too soon, you know what I mean? Like if so, like doesn't matter how funny the joke is. Once Kobe Bryant died, the world cried. If you made a joke right after Kobe died, it's not getting received well. Doesn't matter how.
That's what Ari Shaffir did. He tried on the day. He tried to make some joke.
Did it work?
No, it didn't.
Doesn't matter how funny it is. I cried when Kobe died. I still get emotional thinking about that shit, bro. Yeah. So it's just like if it doesn't matter the joke for some people. Now I feel like I might be able to take one, you know what I mean? But like even when like I had this debate on Facebook, the same exact debate, and someone was talking about Pete Davidson's dad dying in like 9/11 and someone making a joke in a roast about that. Yeah. And then everyone's just like, yeah, you could take a joke. Sometimes dark humor is funny. And I'm just like, for me, that's not funny. Yeah. For me, it's not funny. If my pops died in 9/11, fam, I don't fucking care, bro. Don't bring those jokes to me, bro. That's like you can say whatever you want, and he may have taken the joke well, but at the same time, it's just like, did you feel like you got what you wanted out of that joke when you let it off? Yeah. Like, or did you just offend somebody? Like,
you never know, and that's part of the trade-off. You never really know until you tell the joke.
You can have common sense.
You can think it's funny in your head. You don't know.
But I know when I'm going to offend somebody by being something funny when I know it's funny to me and I'm going to be offensive. Yes, I know. But sometimes I know if I didn't know I was going to be offensive, it's just like, oh shit, my bad. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah.
But if it's just like, okay, I'm going to take a risk on this joke that might be offensive. You can't be like, my bad, I didn't mean to offend, because you did mean to offend. You just didn't know how they'd receive the offense. I
see what you're saying there. So saying like you actually going for that risky joke, knowing that people can be offended by it. Do you think by going for it, you're intentionally being offensive? By going for that joke?
If you know it's an offensive joke, a knock-knock joke 99% of the time is not offensive unless you're going to be like, your mom's eating dick on the other side or some shit like that.
True.
But like, if the punchline, comedy is a science. The same way music is a science.
Everything's a science.
I know when I'm making a song, I know when I'm like, okay, I know this beat at this tempo. When I say music this way, it's going to be perceived this way. I want people to dance, so I'm going to say this, which instructs them to do that to this tempo. 100%. It's going to work. It's a formula. For comedy, by the punch, is it going to be an offensive punch? Is it going to be a creative punch? Is it going to be like, oh, I didn't see that coming? Or is it going to be like something I relate to so much? It's going to be like, there's so much different ways where you could attack the joke. And like, I feel like if it has a chance at being offensive, on the scale of how offensive it is based on the subject too.
Yeah, but this goes back to my point in comedy. Like you work at it on the stage, right? So every time you're working on that joke, you might offend people. But by the 50th time, that joke that started out as mad offensive, not funny, can now be super funny and not offensive. But you got to work at it.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
This is a nuanced thing. Okay. This title has to be something related to comedy and boundaries, because like obviously this is going to be our main subject.
No, we can change it up. Like
I don't mind.
We've been 30 minutes so far already.
I don't mind. This is a hot topic for me. This is a hot topic. I have a lot to talk about. Yeah. But like, I feel like the audience is very important. Do you watch Flagrant?
I've watched a few of them. I wouldn't say I like follow them too
but
deep,
they've created an audience that is so comedy based off
being flagrant.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you try that somewhere else on another audience, it wouldn't work out the same. But because of the audience that they curated, Yes. So I feel like if we're talking about the internet and offending people, it's different. If we're talking about live performing and we're offending people, if somebody's cousin died last week, I doubt you're going to make a joke about their cousin that died last week. You'll feel way comfortable making a joke about Takeoff because most people there probably didn't know Takeoff, and there's a reason why you're using that. There's a reason why you're doing that. So it's like we can't act silly to the fact that we don't know when something's being offensive, because you're acting like, it's like, oh, we don't know it's offensive till it hits the stage. It's like, yes, we do.
You don't know how offensive, but yeah, I agree.
We know how we don't know how offensive, but we know when we're going to, because I'm personally a pretty offensive person.
Same.
I say things that are pretty offensive.
I say things that are
abrasive. I know when I'm saying something that's a touchy subject, or when I'm saying something if I'm saying something about the subject of women, or around the subject of race or religion, or around when you're going to say something that might offend somebody. If we're speaking on like transgender subjects or some shit like that, touchy subjects, we know what these are. I offend people by talking about tipping.
Really?
About tipping at restaurants.
What's your take on tipping?
Okay, first of all,
let's offend some more people.
Okay. First of all, I think that I tip personally.
Okay. Yeah.
I tip because I've had these debates, and enough servers has inspired me to feel sorry for their plight about not getting paid enough and all this type of shit.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever. I tip, but I don't feel entitled to. The minute that you start making me feel entitled to tip, I'm not tipping you, just because what are you going to do if I don't tip? Not serve me, not do your job because I won't tip? Then I'm not going to pay anything.
Exactly. No, I think I agree with you, because like I'm one of those people that, I'm already there, there at the restaurant getting food, I'm eating, I'm helping your wage get paid by me just being there, right? But then there are some times when the staff will, they might treat you differently because
you're not tipping.
Because you're not tipping God. Or whatever. And
I look like a nigga who don't tip, so people walk in, they see me, they're like, oh God.
No, I know, right? but it shouldn't be like that. Like me personally, I'm more inclined to tip more if I feel like the service is above and beyond.
100%.
Right? Like if I go to a restaurant and, you know, maybe I mess up on my order and then they bring it back and they're like, here, you know what, we understand, I'd be like, you know, respects, and I'll, you know, dap them up, and I might, you know, and I'll tip a little bit extra. But if it's just like they do the bare minimum and then at the end they're like, why didn't you tip me 30%? I'm like, dog.
You know, facts. But people will say shit like this. This is what I've had multiple of these debates on Facebook and shit.
Really?
So like,
do you debate on Facebook? Are you Facebook?
You don't have me on Facebook? Yeah, I don't
No.
think you want to have me on Facebook.
I don't even want to be on Facebook.
No,
like I have a Facebook.
I love Facebook. It's probably my favorite social media platform.
Really?
I probably get more interaction on Facebook than anything else.
Really? Is your Facebook like popping? Like, do you have like a bunch
Low
of...
key it is.
Do you want to plug the Facebook?
It's just my name, 𝁟There, but like it's friend request shit. It's not a page. It's just
Okay,
like literally you have to add me as a friend. But the thing is that it's a battleground. It's like opinions, and you're gonna like I could share something about like a cinnamon bun recipe.
Okay.
Go to work or something and come back, 150 comments.
Really?
Somebody posting a picture in front of their ops house being like, I'm pulling up on you right now. Like shit like that. Like people beef randomly, like over random shit.
Yeah.
There's always opinionated controversy. I'm always getting banned every bit.
Really? Wow.
Like,
Yeah.
Facebook keeps me pretty entertained. Like it's kind of toxic. I'm not gonna lie.
It seems
but
like-
it's funner than like Instagram.
Yeah. No,
In my
Instagram's
opinion.
a little bit, because you can't really dive into those deep debates.
I like Twitter too because I like. I'm sorry for keep cutting you off.
Keep
but like
going.
Twitter is like I like interactive social media platforms where I get to be like Twitter's like my head. I be forgetting people could see what I'm tweeting because it's just me having thoughts and just letting it off, you know. So
Definitely.
it's like I like things that I could comment and have an opinion and whatnot, and like you could do that on Instagram, but it's just not the same compared to like Twitter or Instagram. I mean Twitter or Facebook.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's merit to that, like, because Facebook and Twitter, they're more like connection based, right? They're more like interactive based. You comment, you like, you do all these things.
I think Instagram is like toxic. Instagram is just like a facade of like everybody showing their fake lifestyles, and it's just like,
well, it can be fake, but the way I see Instagram is almost like it's almost like everyone's always sending their best employee to go talk to the rep. You know what I mean? Like,
that's a good example.
Like you always put your best foot forward. Like no one's really gonna show their, like, specifically women, not to attack y'all personally, but they're not gonna post like regular day stuff, no makeup, no nothing. Most men's are not gonna just post them in their boxers, and some guys, but those are the weirdos. You know what I mean?
Instagram's not an authentic place in my opinion. I feel like the comments on authentic is like, even on music, it's just like fire emojis, but they probably only listen to the preview. They're not gonna listen to the actual song.
But I think the platform encourages that because, like I said, everyone's always showing their best self at all time, but not everybody is their best self at all time.
I'm not gonna lie, I think Instagram is more used for like, I feel like social media in general is more used for the news for me. Like Twitter is very good for the news because like whenever something fake's going on, I'll be like, this person died. I'll be like, hold on, let me check Twitter. If it's not trending on Twitter, it's not real, in my opinion. Because like, even when an album drops, you want to see real life opinions. You go on recent, you search the name on Twitter, you see people's real life thoughts and opinions on what album dropped, on whatever happened, and then whatever you think about this person, I'll be like, damn, people are really pissed about this person. You'll see real opinions, even if they're wrong and ignorant and whatnot. You see people's actual real life feedback. Even when a school shooting's happening, I see the students from the school tweeting, talking about their experience, and I'm reading it on Twitter. You know what I mean? Like,
that's crazy.
On Instagram, it's nothing like that. On Instagram, there's nothing like that where you're just getting a real live feeds into people's stuff where you really care.
I 100% agree. And I think that's just because the way of the platform, right? Like I said, people are always trying to show their best selves, not their authentic selves. Whereas Twitter, you can be more authentic, right? Some people, they might not go by their real name on Twitter, but they're more authentic there because it's not their best self that they have to show all the time. Like you could have like an anonymous page on Twitter, but all of your thoughts that you're putting out, all your tweets, those can be authentic, right? But it's authentic under just a different name, right? So I think with Twitter, you're able to do that. Whereas Instagram, because it's more visual based, it's
very visual based.
It's very hard to be your authentic self all the time in a visual space.
Because on Instagram, you're really trying to catch people. Everyone's scrolling. You're trying to catch their attention in 3 seconds. That's like, even when I'm promoting stuff for music, I'm like, which part of the song is going to get people's attention to make them stop scrolling for their fucking 2 seconds to be like, wait, what's this? You know?
Do you have, when you're, because you do music, you're a rapper, and you're trying to do other things, but do you have like a strategy when it comes to your social media, or specifically your Instagram, when it comes to music? Or is it just like you're saying, kind of find the most interesting part, put it up? And
it depends, because I feel like this, like, music is constantly growing, so you're constantly changing strategies and whatnot. I don't really feel like I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to do in terms of like keeping up with the modern day standards, because TikTok is like bigger than Google right now, and I'm not even
TikTok is bigger than Google. Oh.
Yeah, TikTok's bigger than Google right now, and I'm not even really like on TikTok like that. Like, it's like I'll try to cross-platform stuff, but at the same time, it's like I'm getting older. It's like, fuck, it's hard to keep up with all this. Like,
I know, who would have thought?
Shit,
I never thought I'd be like the old man where I'm like, I don't want to do another social media platform. My email's enough. I don't need a Gmail. You know,
facts. It's just constantly growing, and there's constantly new strategies. Like, at first I thought like, okay, so what's the answer? Playlists are the answer, and then it's just like, oh, Instagram promotions are the answer, and then it's like this, like there's so much different things, and it's like there is no concrete answer. There's different things that work for different people, and I feel like if there's a certain release I want to get results, I know how to get results on it. If I want to be like, okay, I know this part of the song match with this video, these visuals will get attention. And then for me, it's all about stopping the scroll. Getting attention in the first 2 seconds and whatnot. And then aside from that, is just reaching a broader audience. And then a lot of that has to do with like even paying.
It's like boosting posts and stuff like that.
Either paying to boost your post so it reaches a broader audience, or you're paying another outlet to repost you to a broader audience that can get people to follow you and whatnot. There's different ways. It's just that I feel like I'll do so good promoting any other type of business, because it's so hard to get promoted in music. Because it's such an oversaturated market. That if I get into something that's more of a niche market, if I was to try and promote that, it would be fucking easy, because of all the different ways that I promote music through. It's just like, yo, if I did all that, it's just that nobody cares, because like, who wants to just see another artist?
Well, it depends, because my cousin, he's a rapper, and he put me on his form of marketing, and he markets his stuff in a niche way. So he's not even trying to hit a broader audience. He's only looking for people that'll fuck with his music.
And that works even better. That works even better if you're trying to sell a product. Like, if that's what I was saying. If we're to use these music skills to put into a business that was just like saying like selling fucking pencils or some shit like that or whatever. Like, that's just an example. Like, whatever would be a niche market in something. It's just like it would be easy to lock in and be easy to find ways to sell that, because to sell music in hip hop, to sell music as a black rapper, it's just like it's so hard to be original. Even if I got shot 7 times, it'd be hard to tell an original story about getting shot 7 times, because so many people have been shot how many times?
And then somebody might comment below, you only been shot 7 times. I also got shot 12 times.
Exactly. I mean?
Which makes no sense, but
you know, you got shot 7 times. Oh, that was in your leg. I got shot in my chest, arms. You know.
I know. That's part of it, and I think one of the things is persistence and consistency really help with kind of pushing the needle towards what it is you want.
100%.
Right? If you're consistent, if you're consistently doing it, and I don't mean like consistent like every day, but that should almost be the ideal. You know what I mean? It's hard to reach that ideal of doing something every day, but
not if you care about it enough.
Not if you exactly.
It depends on what it is, though. I'd say in music, it's easy to practice art every day. When I was practicing basketball, it was easy with a basketball to practice art every day. But it might be harder to do something like hockey or football, where you need equipment to actually play a sport. Or maybe you could do drills.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. You can still kind of do drills
and stuff like that. But with art, at the same time, for me, you got to put on your hours. You know what I mean? Your hours to hone your craft. Because I'm not one of these artists that just picked up a mic because they wrote a good song and they just decided to rap. Like, I've been rapping like majority of my life, longer than I can remember. So it's just like, when it comes to practicing multi-syllables to speed rap, to punchlines, to cadences, to melodic rap. I had phases when I had to master each part of everything in order to make me into who I am today, to become a versatile artist, to be able to do so much things that encompass just rapping and in the growing art form as it grows. You know what I mean? You have to put in the work.
You have to put in the work. And exactly, you have to put in the work. And you have to put in the work and don't forget the work that you put in. You know what I mean? Like, say you put in, like, for instance, you mentioned like someone that would just put out a song and then that's it. They might take like a couple months.
Yeah, consistency is almost more important. Consistency is an important part of work. There is no work without consistency.
Yes,
there is, because consistency is the key to everything. Like I was watching a podcast with Shannon Sharp, and he was saying
Shannon Sharp. Oh, yes.
Yeah, he works on like he does the best. He doesn't do ESPN.
What is it? I don't know. I know who Shannon Sharp
Undisputed,
is.
Yeah. But like, he was saying he eats the same meal. Every day, same time, breakfast, wakes up every day. Been doing the same routine for like 20 plus years. If you look at these people who are successful and like fit in body, fit in mind, and finance, these high quality men.
High value men.
I'm not gonna high value men. I'm not gonna fall into that type of. I'm not a red pill nigga. But like people who like, you know, the type of people who we aspire to be. They have really strict routines 100%. In life. You know what I mean? And I feel like when it comes to honing your art, fitting that into your routine, when it comes to art, when it comes to anything that you're passionate about, I feel like that's very important. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. 100%.
You could say that again. That's something that as I get older, I find it more important, because I used to be one of those people. I would always call myself like I'm consistently inconsistent. You know what I mean? So I always knew that I would go hard at something for a bit and then I would stop. I'd go hard and then I would stop. I'll go hard and then I'd stop. And then I'd stop and then I'll go hard. You know what I mean? But now what I'm realizing is that maybe I don't have to go hard every single time, but as long as I keep doing it, then that's better than going hard and stopping. You know what I mean?
It's like Russ said about dropping a song every week, that type of theories. Like if you look at me in my artistry, it's like I hate using my art as an example sometimes because I'm not the most successful artist, but I do feel like, you know, I have those qualities to be potentially. But I put out a lot of music. It's like at minimum I put out a song a month without trying. You know what I mean? By the end of even think about that, it's only 12 songs a year. That's not a lot in my opinion, you know, and I make songs at a very high rate. Most of my songs I don't put out. And when I look at that and I look at the artists around me, especially locally, it's like, damn, I still put out more music than majority artists.
Then that's part of it. And that's one of the keys of being consistent, right? Because that, like you said, that puts you ahead of all the artists that aren't as consistent, right? If they only post one song every 6 months, right, then that's 2 songs a year. But you're posting at like a minimum a song a month. That's 12 songs, bro.
I just think like, yo, bro, I produce at a high rate.
No, exactly.
I mean, like, because of the fact of like, you have to think about the industry right now and how there's 20 song albums and stuff like that being dropped yearly. Like, you kind of have to you have to think about it. That's the landscape right now. 20 song albums. That's the normal thing, you know, being dropped once a year or whatnot. And like features and all this type of stuff. If music is like being looked at as your career, it's just like, I've been working on it long enough where it's easy enough for me to make a song. Like, you know, I can make a song.
No, I know. And that's, I think that's a really good like observation. Like if you see kind of where the landscape is going, you have a better understanding of like how you can factor those kind of factors into the way you do things.
Like, look at this. I grew up on Lil Wayne. Okay. Lil Wayne was like,
Weezy.
How old are you?
I'm 25.
You're 25? Okay, we're around the same age. I'm 26, turning 27, whatever. Okay. But like, Lil Wayne at his rise, there's a certain people who had a certain peak. And like when 50 Cent was it, he was it. Everybody was listening to 50 Cent. Everybody, you couldn't miss it. When Lil Wayne was it, everybody was listening to Lil Wayne, you couldn't miss it. He was on top of the world. Drake, same type of thing. You know, it might be a little baby right now, but like everybody has a turn, and certain people have a big mark on their turn, like 50 Cent and Lil Wayne.
Yeah.
And Lil Wayne was that guy for me.
Yeah.
And he was dropping so much music. I watched this video where he dropped more music than everybody else consistently for so long.
Yeah.
Even while he was in jail, he was dropping more music.
Yeah, he's dropping mixtapes and like different
more music
projects.
than people who were out. So
Yeah.
I get the attention span so low nowadays. I need to feed the streets. I get bored of listening to my own music, so I have to make a new song. So why would I feel like the artists wouldn't be, other consumers wouldn't be the same?
Yeah, definitely. Do you find that like you being such a fan of Lil Wayne and that that sort of like hustling mentality, do you find that motivates you to do more than like others? Like, do you find like,
I think the fact that I'm a fan of the old school rap mentality enables me to have a different mentality than others in general.
do you find, okay, so let me ask you this. Do you find that the people like, do you find like the people that might be like, oh, I became a fan of rap during like the SoundCloud era and like those kind of artists and stuff like that? Like,
At first I was a hater. I was a Joe Budden. I was like,
I'm not saying those rappers, but I'm saying the people that are a fan, like they look up to those guys where it's like, oh, I only need to drop one hit song and I'm famous.
You look up to those guys, but you just didn't do your homework. For me, it's about like, I listened to those guys too. I didn't just miss that era. But what I'm saying is that I'm a student of those guys and the guys before them and everything. So I know more than you.
True. Yeah.
Just simple as that. I know more than you. I know this era. I know what came before. I know what made now, because like I listened to shit from before I was born. Like Tupac is one of my favorite artists, and he died the year I was born. Wow. You know, like,
yeah. No,
so
100%.
it's like,
yeah, no, it's good. Yeah,
I feel like you don't have to know every older artist or everything. If you came up of a fan of the people around the SoundCloud era, kudos to you. But I feel like there is value in knowing history in the art.
100%. I think so too. There's so much value, and I think people, they might pass up on that value by not going back and seeing those lessons that they need to learn in the past or that have already been learned, right? Like, I know like sometimes like I'll like learn a lesson, but then I'm like, I didn't really need to learn that one because someone else already learned it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And continuously doing that is something that kind of holds you back. Whereas what you did is kind of like, oh, well, I'm learning from the past. I learned what they did. I learned what worked, what didn't work, what I like, what I don't like. And that, once again, because you're doing that consistently, that puts you ahead. And you know,
I think it's because it's a new school mentality that came kind of with the SoundCloud era that was kind of like, fuck the past, fuck the old niggas, let's not respect the old niggas. That it's like, it's hard to have that mentality when the old niggas made the new niggas, you know what I mean? Like everything's connected. So it's just like when you go back and you think about everything in hindsight, I feel like I forgot where I was going with this.
That's all right. Like just taking inspiration from the past, I think is very important.
Yeah.
There's a lot of lessons to learn there.
100% taking inspiration from the past.
So we were also, you mentioned earlier, where do I go with this? You mentioned, I want to go there, but at the same time, it's a little bit risky. I don't know.
Are you feeling risky today? Because when I put it on the table, I put it all on the table.
All right. So you mentioned, you brought up Sneeko earlier and how you were listening to some conversations about him and all these things, because he was one of those guys, and maybe I'll put Andrew Tate in this same sort of category. But like, what are your thoughts on like those people?
The red pill universe?
Not even the red, but those two in particular.
In particular?
Like
I have two completely different opinions on both of them. I feel like they're completely two different people. I feel like Sneeko is a result of Andrew Tate's poor leadership. Because I feel like Andrew Tate isn't what people think he is, and like I'm not a big fan of either. But I do consume people's content to sometimes just understand them better. 100%. And I don't think he's a bad person. I feel like some of his beliefs are just his personal beliefs and how he feels, and I feel like that's him, you know. But I feel like when people say that he's having a bad example on the males of the future and the youth and whatnot. Sneako's a perfect example because he takes some of Andrew Tate's ideals and he like makes them 10 times
worse.
10 times worse, you know, like he's an extremist. That's what he kind of is. And like I'm new on Sneako. I just found out about him and I just watched like a fucking thing about his career yesterday, right?
Okay.
So like it's pretty fresh in my head. Yeah. And like he seemed like he started from a pretty genuine place and he seems like he's a pretty genuine kid. Yeah. But he's immature as hell.
Yes.
He's too immature. And that will be his biggest downfall because he's not open-minded. It's just like, if you feel like I don't like when people are too much like the man, the government, they.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People are being unrealistic when it comes to when they're speaking about they, like who is they? Yeah. And if you're gonna not listen to what they say, like if you're saying you're not, because I listened to him say that he wouldn't wear a mask just because the government is telling him to wear a mask.
Yeah.
So I have no problem with people who don't want to wear a mask. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I just rather some logic be heard behind it because like, I heard this, I heard they don't really work. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not effective. But if you say like, I'm just not going to listen to anything the government says, that's another form of you being controlled.
Yeah.
They're controlling you in a different way because they're going to be like.
Controlling you by making you do the opposite.
Reverse psychology. It'll be the easiest form to control somebody who thinks like that. And it's idiotic to me. Yeah. I feel like, Andrew Tate, I feel like his core place where he's coming from, I don't feel like it's coming from like a wrong place. Like,
don't worry. This is when we start to go deep into the conspiracy. These stuff start to close down. We go to these are the DEFCON doors. You know what I say? Like we're going into the war room, lock it down.
Yeah, whoa! Don't say DEFCON now. You know I'm the Kanye.
What? He said DEFCON. That's so funny.
That's jokes. But yeah, Sneako, I feel like because of the thing I watched on him yesterday, he actually is pretty brilliant. He's like smarter than he looks. Yeah. I thought he was a complete idiot. I thought he was a complete idiot before that. Like I just thought he was just an idiot because I watched him on No Jumper. I watched him on Academics. I watched him on all his little like press runs since he got canceled. Yes. Like he's an idiot. You're doing things that is going to get canceled. Yes. Like these are privatized platforms. They don't have to have your bullshit on it.
I agree. And to your point that you made, like he just wasn't mature enough to just, relax a little bit, like if he had, not to say that I know better than him, because obviously what the hell do I know, but it's like, if he really wanted to continue his message to be getting out, right, it would have been wiser for him to slow down, right? Slow down. And as they say, like the tortoise and the hare. Yeah. Slow and steady wins the race.
Nobody wants an extremist. Like you only work for certain type of people. There's certain type of people who gravitate towards that. Yep. But like, I don't feel like that's the majority, and I don't feel like that's 100%. Any logical people who gravitate to just people who are loud and rambunctious, but yet they're saying like everything that they're saying is a lie. Like it just sounds like a fucking. Just a repeat of everything, a never ending of cycles. Like, just don't listen to the man. Everything they're saying is lies. Blah 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 blah.
And that's something they've been saying. Like people been saying that since the beginning of time. Don't listen to the man.
I feel like there's some truth in it at the very top, and I feel like there's some corruption in the government, 100%. But I feel like the government. I don't feel like it's all like they're all together to co-inspire. I don't feel like it's like they're trying to hurt the world. They just care more about self-interest. Yeah, I feel like they care so much about self-interest that they don't care about the detriment of us. But I don't feel like their goal is to be like, let's kill us all and let's make us all work bad lives. I feel like, hey, if it was up to them, everybody would live in good if they could, but they just know that the way capitalism works, for them to live good, everybody else has to live worse.
Yeah, 100%.
To put it in simple terms.
No, but it makes sense. Like, and like you said, not everybody in the government is malicious. You know what I mean? It's just to keep it in that sort of way. Some people want to be up, some people have to be down.
Yeah, right? You got to think about
it's that simple. So we're at an hour. We can go a little bit longer. You mentioned Kanye. Do you want to speak on that? Like what your thoughts are, or do you want to?
Yeah, okay. We can't even call him Kanye no more.
We can't say Kanye.
Well, we can if we want to, but like it's formally his name is Ye. He changed his name legally. See,
I'm not that deep into like music. Ye, just Ye.
Ye. Okay. So it's the artist formerly known as Kanye West.
Oh, interesting. When did he change his name? Like, when was this?
Probably like last year. But we're both Geminis. I see a lot of relations, and I'm not gonna lie, I hate when I see myself in Kanye because I think Kanye's a nut. I think he's a nut. I think he's like literally like going crazy. Like he's having a mental breakdown, and it's just sad because it's in front of the whole world. And like people who are letting him on these platforms to talk his shit, they don't care about him.
Really?
They do not care about him.
Like,
they do not care about him, or else they would not allow somebody who's mentally ill to take a public platform. What has he gained? He's lost everything. He's lost $2 billion in a day. What has he gained? If you really care about this man, you're not going to give him a platform to say something that you know. Is he speaking because he's not mentally okay? Like he's like people think because you're rich you can't have mental problems. The man is not mentally all right. Like when he like even in 2016 he wasn't okay. He had to get put into rehab because he was on stage saying Jay-Z was in Illuminati trying to kill him and all this type of shit. He was on stage literally talking shit about Drake and DJ Khaled. He had a mental breakdown on stage and he was crying, left in the middle of the show. And then he went into a fucking like rehab or fucking he was on pills for being bipolar and all this type of shit. The man is not okay. So the fact that we're taking advantage of this for views and clicks, I don't even think he should be held accountable for all the fucked up shit he's saying that's anti-Semitic and racist and shit because he is obviously not okay mentally. He's not okay.
Do you think, even though he might not be mentally okay, but do you think that, because I sort of think like there are some things that he said that maybe he didn't have to say it that way, but it's also what he's experienced. Or do you think that whatever he's saying he experienced?
Oh, the truth in what he's saying, the content?
Maybe. Like,
the thing is that
I only watched one podcast with him.
I've listened to like all the interviews with him. Because like I think he's a nut, but there is some brilliance and genius in Kanye West.
Do you think that you have, in order to be brilliant, you have to be crazy as well?
No. I feel like it's a crazy thing for us Geminis. Sometimes it just happens to come hand in hand. But like, I don't feel like you have to be. I feel like you have to have some sort of craziness to think outside the box, but not. Kanye's like emotional crazy. Most of his craziness comes from unregulated emotional things. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I feel like if he has crazy ideas creatively because those boots are hideous, but like, hey, creatively it hits for him. It makes a lot of money. Just like, So hey, he's crazy for trying things that I wouldn't try and whatnot, and his whole personality is crazy. But you have to understand, when you listen to him talk, he contradicts himself too much. He'll say things that are factually incorrect. Yeah,
I've heard people say that. Yeah.
So is it like literally he says some things that are like he said, first of all, the cop's knee wasn't even on his neck like that. What do you mean like that?
Yeah.
The cop's knee wasn't on his neck like that.
Yeah.
I know what he's saying because he's reiterating the points that from Candace Owens' documentary that she put out. And I listened to Candace Owens when she went on DJ Academics' podcast. And when she was explaining her thoughts on the George Floyd situation, how she thinks it's a lie and all this type of shit like that. But she's able to explain it very well where it's almost halfway convincing because she knows what the fuck she's talking about. But he's reiterating her talking points, which is like broken telephones. So he's just trying to say like, the knee wasn't even on the neck like that. So it just comes out like just completely terrible. When Candace Owens is probably just like face palm. That's not what I said. Like, you know? But like, he's not fit. Like this is when we come, like he has some fair points, but if you take it, what are you saying about Jewish people? It's anti-Semitic when you're saying that Jewish people own everything because that's the type of rhetoric that reinforced having World War II happen and the Holocaust and every type of thing. So I understand why you shouldn't say things like that that infer that Jewish people have power over everything. But lots of things that he was saying, he didn't say anything we didn't know. You can't say one thing that Kanye said that we didn't know. The only thing that he said is that he'll say these random French ass names of people that we don't know. So it's just like, oh shit, that's the person. Like it sounds like he's saying some crazy shit, but it's just like we don't know the name, but we know the brand they own. If he says the owner of Balenciaga's name, like we don't know the name of the owner, but we'll know the company, whatever. You know. So when he's saying all these brands and the fact that they're Jewish owners or whatever, the Jewish people own the high stakes in that, he's saying these names is crazy, but we already knew that. Majority of the high.
Let me ask you this, because I know like Kanye, and then we'll end it. But like, I know Kanye has like a big influence on like so many people. Like I know people that are like super fans of Kanye, and I'm not like saying that's bad or whatever. But like,
I think it can be bad.
It can be. I agree, but I'm not saying those like specific people are bad. But like, where do we go as a culture from there? Like, if even like some of our top people like Kanye, he's out here saying something and maybe he's going crazy, maybe like I have no idea what's going on. I'm looking at it from the outside. Like I always say, like I'm watching.
I'm pretty tuned in. I know exactly what's going on.
What do you think is like us as like consumers and people that are kind of watching this industry from the outside? Well, you're kind of in the.
I feel like if you're offended by Kanye and you truly don't want to support the man, then don't support the man. If you don't care, then support the man. I feel like he's gonna have a hard time selling his fashion stuff because all of his distributors like dropped him. He's gonna have a really hard time selling independently for as much markets that he covers. Because like if he's being dropped by everyone, where people at Goodwill said they're not even willing to give his clothes at Goodwill, that's just extra.
That's so
but
funny.
like when people,
why does Goodwill have to step in?
That's gonna make it like who's like, is there manufacturers who's gonna be making the clothing? That's gonna be hard. Where he's gonna have to pay a premium at a higher place. Like it might be make his life a lot more difficult. But us as a consumer, I'm not on the side of. I don't feel like you should support him because of what he said.
Yeah.
If you like Kanye's music, listen to Kanye's music. Buy his clothes if that's what you like. If I don't like it, I won't support it. I just hate how we try to put that on other people. It's just like, bro, I'm gonna say this. I listen to R. Kelly.
Who doesn't? R. Kelly still gets played. Like
we're gonna get some people get really upset.
Hold on. Can we just,
if you say that you listen to R. Kelly because you're supporting somebody who's that? But at the same time, I tried. The thing is that if you change the experience for me, I'll stop listening to it. So for Ignition and songs where you're just like, my mind is telling me no, my body's telling me yes. Now I'm thinking about it different. Now I'm just like, I can't enjoy it the same. So I might have to cut that out. But I can't cut off I Believe I Can Fly because that was in Space Jam. And if you
100%, I totally forgot that was in Space Jam.
That was in Space Jam. So how could I cut off I Believe I Can Fly? I can't. That's a song that kids hear and they're just like, whoa, it's a beautiful song. I'll sing it all over again. Like it's a generational beautiful song. I can't cut it off. So it's like,
and you know what? I think we'll end it at this because this is a perfect full circle moment. I was at a comedy show in Toronto, and this one dude, he was trying to do R. Kelly jokes. And it just wasn't landing. Like the dude was swinging. Like this guy was, I don't remember the exact jokes he was trying to do, but the guy was.
Time and place, man. Time and place.
Time and place. It was all black crowd too. So, I mean, maybe that might have been the place, maybe not. Who knows? Like, but he was going for it.
It would be hard to be a comedian in this day and age. I'm not gonna lie. The climate is very iffy. It's just like you have to be willing to bomb because even the best.
Yeah, he was bombing. But then you know what's funny? Someone went up afterwards and then made fun of him for bombing. and then he was cheesed. But it's like, that's part of the.
Yeah, you could be cheesy if you want, but I think that's funny. Like I feel like in comedy, if you're funny, you win. Like I said, if my mom died and you try to talk about my mom, I'm not gonna find it funny no matter what you say. 100%. But like if it's like fucking somebody who I don't care about as much who died, like. I don't want to say a name,
but it's not going to affect you in the same way.
Yeah, if it's not going to offend me, like I love Juice WRLD, but if you say a Juice WRLD joke now, it's been a couple years, like you might get a giggle out of me if it's funny enough. Like a Mac Miller joke, you might want to get a giggle out of me.
If you can find a way to make it funny, I think it's something that if you're consistent enough and you put the time in and maybe you do the research, you see like, oh, how are people looking at this? Or what are people actually getting mad at? Or whatever it may be, I think.
But have you ever been able to just not, like you couldn't hold in the laugh? Like it was just instinctively, you heard it and it was like.
But that's the truest form of comedy to me. Because you're right. There are some laughs.
Sometimes there's nothing you could do.
Some laughs that you can't hold back. Like if that guy was telling R. Kelly jokes and I couldn't help but laugh, like that's what I know that shit's funny. And that's
when you know it's funny. So he realistically just wasn't funny enough.
Yeah, he's not there yet. Because I saw him tell those jokes twice. Both times they didn't land. But just work on your craft. You'll get there eventually.
Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Exactly. At the end of these episodes that I've been doing here, I get people to just say two things to express gratitude. So like, what are like two things that you're grateful for? It doesn't have to be the most deepest, whatever, but it's just like, what are two things you're grateful for today?
Today, family, and the opportunity to grow.
Ooh, Respects. Grateful for family and the opportunity to grow.
And for my single that's coming out on November 11th.
Flag it, man. Flag it. Go ahead.
November 11th, 2022, 11/11.
Let's
11/11. You know, I have a single dropping with a lot of people. It has like 4 Hamilton artists on it.
Do you want to drop their names as well?
Yeah, I got Falcon the Artist.
Okay.
I got Buddha Abuser.
Okay.
I got Nico Lowry, and I got Danny X.
Awesome. And that's dropping 11/11/22. Make sure you guys go check it out. I'll say two things that I'm grateful for is grateful to, have the opportunity to be able to have these conversations, while we're here to, express these ideas and go back and forth. I think that's super important in today's age, especially where so many people, they don't want to have the back and forth. They only want to have the forth and, all these things. So being able to just have these conversations is something that I'm super grateful for. And as I always say, I'm grateful for life. I'm grateful to just, be here. I could have been a freaking ant or something.
That would be a fucking shitty life.
I could have been an ant or something, but we're here, we're doing it, and
we're shitty humans taking over the earth, ruining this rock. Come on, let's go.
No, I think in the long game, I think we're doing good.
Humans?
Yeah, I think. And
I think that's another conversation for another podcast.
Yeah, we can save it.
Yeah,
that's just the way I think of it.
Because I could go into a long thing. I think humans are the worst thing that ever happened to this planet ever.
All right, we'll save that for another episode. We're at an hour. We're at an hour 11:11. This is the perfect place. Yeah. Until the next time, guys, make sure you leave a comment down below. Leave a like. Make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend and share this with, whoever you think would get at least one thought of value from this episode. If you think you learned something interesting or something that made you change your perspective on certain ideas, leave a comment. Let us know what it was. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and play this outro music.
What?
Further.
I'm sorry?
You said my skills extend farther than the basketball court. Farther relates to distance. Further is a definition of degree. You should have said further.